Don't let negative thoughts restrict or limit your progress. Instead, make the needed adjustments so that you can move forward and continue to rejoice. Note another area for readjustment Paul mentions in verse 11. There he says, continue to think in agreement. There were members of the congregation back in the first century that were promoting apostate ideas. Others were introducing controversial ideas that were not directly unscriptural, but they were divisive. This resulted in bickering and arguments over words, really creating a spiritually unhealthy atmosphere. Well, what's going to help us to continue to think in agreement? Remember Paul's words at 2 Timothy 2:23, to reject foolish and ignorant debates, knowing that they produce fights. Of course, we react strongly when facing issues that clearly violate Jehovah's moral laws. But if no scriptural principle is being violated, we're wise to abstain from promoting our personal opinions. We want to do all we can to avoid starting or being drawn into disagreements that can disrupt the peace of the congregation.
At this point, I feel I need to congratulate the Jehovah's Witness organization. They almost made it to the halfway point of their 2022 convention without moaning about apostates.
There were members of the congregation back in the first century that were promoting apostate ideas. We want to do all we can to avoid starting or being drawn into disagreements that can disrupt the peace of the congregation.
They were almost there. The finish line was in sight. Bear in mind, this is a 3-day convention. You have the Friday morning, the Friday afternoon, the Saturday morning, and then you have Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. So we're just coming up on the halfway point, and they couldn't resist having a pop at apostates. If you watched my rebuttals to last year's convention, you'll remember that they had an awful lot to say about apostates then. Thumbnail here, if Tibor is gracious, to a video titled Everything They Said About Apostates at the 2021 convention. They really went into damage limitation mode. Clearly the organization is rattled by how much dissent there is and how the teachings and theology and policies are just unraveling when people go online and go on YouTube and Google things. You'd think they'd just ease off a bit. You'd think they would retire the A word for this convention because, of course, the more you jump up and down about it, the more you mention apostates, the more you complain about their divisive ideas, inevitably the more Jehovah's Witnesses are going to want to know what all the fuss is about. But they just can't help themselves. They cannot help but show how paranoid they are at the very idea of the teachings, the authority of the governing body being questioned. To be fair, I don't think these remarks were actually intended for apostates, as in the likes of me, as in the likes of YouTube channels and websites and blogs that criticize Jehovah's Witnesses. I actually think what we just heard William Turner say was more directed at Jehovah's Witness anti-vaxxers.
Of course, we react strongly when facing issues that clearly violate Jehovah's moral laws. But if no scriptural principle is being violated, we're wise to abstain from promoting our personal opinions.
Anyone who followed the Jehovah's Witness response to the coronavirus pandemic will tell you that they had a real problem with Jehovah's Witnesses buying into anti-vaxxer propaganda online to the point where there was repeated guidance coming especially to elders, telling them to get their act together, reminding them of how many Bethelites had been vaccinated and the fact that the vaccines were having a positive effect on the Bethel family. So why on earth aren't ordinary Jehovah's Witnesses being vaccinated in the numbers we would like to see? I think that the governing body, the organization, was aware that there was considerable dissent among a significant percentage of Jehovah's Witnesses who buy into conspiracy theories, who fall for whatever junk they see on Facebook or YouTube. In any population, in any religious demographic, you will get people like that. I see them on the channel. There'll be people commenting on this video saying, "Oh, Lloyd, I can't believe you've gone from one cult to another. I can't believe you've swallowed the plandemic Kool-Aid. Come on. Come on now. It's a real pandemic that has killed millions of people, and it would have killed millions more if not for the vaccine." So actually, the organization has played things correctly, in my opinion, when it comes to promoting the vaccine. You could argue that there's a little bit of hypocrisy whenever they use language like, "of course it's your personal choice," and then go on to punish or remove privileges from people who don't make the choice that they would like. You can make that argument if you like. I personally think it's sort of splitting hairs. Again, it's the responsible thing to promote vaccines and encourage people to take medication that is going to stop them from dying in many cases. But what's interesting is, clearly, from what William Turner's saying, they had a massive problem with ideas that were not against Jehovah's moral laws, but were nonetheless causing division. It's a really interesting insight, in my opinion, into how conformity and unity is demanded by this organization.